This story is bananas.
I'm Chiquita Banana and I've come to say
A fruit loved worldwide, symbolizing tropical paradise and healthy living.
Chiquita bananas give them a nutrition and energy lift that will carry them through a busy day.
And yet behind its sweet facade lies a bitter history of violence, exploitation, and corporate greed. This is the story of Chiquita Brands International and its dark legacy in Colombia.
I'm Chiquita Banana, that's my band you see. If you want quality and flavor, always look for me. Next time you shop, buy some bananas and be sure they're Chiquita bananas.
Today we dive deep into a shocking and harrowing tale of corporate malfeasance and human rights abuses. A USA court in West Palm Beach has found Chiquita Brands International liable for financing Colombian paramilitary groups responsible for brutal killings. But this story begins long before this verdict. Let's rewind to the origins of this scandal. Our story starts in 1899 in Boston with the founding of United Fruit Company, which would later become Chiquita. United Fruit quickly became the dominant force in the banana trade, earning the nickname El Pulpo, or the octopus, due to its vast influence. By the 1930s, United Fruit owned hundreds of thousands of acres of land in Guatemala, and its influence was unparalleled. They controlled not just the banana plantations, but also vital infrastructure like railways, the postal service, and telegraph lines. Fast forward to the 1980s.
Delicious Chiquita bananas are rich in potassium. Take at least one a day.
United Fruit had rebranded as Chiquita, but their operations continued unabated, and so did their controversial practices. This brings us to the heart of our story: Colombia. Colombia's brutal civil war, which began in the 1960s and resulted in the deaths of at least 220,000 people, gave rise to the United Self-Defense Forces known as the AUC. Formed in 1997, this coalition of heavily armed far-right groups was supported by drug traffickers and business people seeking protection from leftist guerrilla factions, but in reality their dealings were far more nefarious.
The facts are that the AUC has affected terrorism now for many years that's resulted in destabilizing not just Colombia but the whole region.
Designated as a terrorist organization by the US in 2001, the AUC turned out to be involved in widespread human rights abuses, including the murders of trade unionists and banana workers. The conflict had finally concluded in 2016 when the government and the principal leftist group, which also committed civilian atrocities, agreed to a peace deal. Which brings us to today. In a landmark case, a South Florida jury found Chiquita liable for financing the AUC, ordering them to pay $38.3 million in damages to the victims. But how did this story all unfold? Chiquita admitted to making payments to the AUC from 1997 to 2004, amounting to $1.7 million. These payments were ostensibly for protection in a volatile region. Chiquita's funds were used by the AUC to commit atrocities, targeting anyone they suspected of left-wing sympathies. The company's actions were not just about protection, they were about maintaining dominance through fear and violence. In one heartbreaking case presented during the trial, a young girl witnessed her mother and stepfather being executed by paramilitaries that the lawyers argued were funded by Chiquita. The attackers executed her stepfather and fatally shot her mother as she attempted to flee, then handed the girl roughly 65 cents for bus fare back to town. Another victim, widow Raquel Sena, whose farm worker husband was killed in the banana-producing region, revealed in a Colombian radio interview that the United Self-Defense Forces murdered him after he refused to sell them his farmland. Gerardo Vega, the former director of Colombia's National Land Agency, which is responsible for returning land to people who were displaced by force, said in a video statement that the ruling was a vindication of the fight against impunity in the United States. This isn't the first time United Fruit, now Chiquita, has been involved in controversies. The infamous Banana Massacre of 1928 saw the Colombian military, under pressure from the United Fruit Company, kill striking workers. This event was immortalized in Gabriel Garcia Marquez's 100 Years of Solitude. United Fruit's history is riddled with instances of using extreme measures to protect their interests. The 1928 massacre was a grim precursor to the kind of corporate military collusion that Chiquita engaged in decades later. Today, Chiquita remains a global brand with its bananas on shelves across the world. But as we peel back the layers, we see a legacy tainted by bloodshed and exploitation. Thank you for watching Suits and Sinners. Stay informed and stay vigilant.